Further debate. I recognize the member from Guelph.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. It's always an honour to rise in the House, and today I rise to speak on Bill 254, the Elections Act bill. And, Speaker, I must admit I'm a bit perplexed about Schedule 7 of the bill, and I'm a bit surprised that the government would so significantly increase donation limits and reopen the door to pay-to-play politics, especially after the previous Liberal government took such a big hit on this issue. And I remember back in the days when I would have to show up and sit up in the gallery, and the issue of big money in politics was hounding the Liberal government. And one of the things I could always agree with the former Conservative members is that Ontario's government should not be for sale, and we should get big money out of politics. And so that's why when I read this bill, I was so surprised to see donation limits go from $1,600 to $3,300, which, Speaker, really, and this is so important, is actually going from $4,800 to $9,900, because a donor can donate $3,300 to a party, $3,300 to a riding association of that party, and $3,300 to a candidate of that party, for a total of $9,900. And I'm thinking, how many Ontarians have $9,900 lying around to donate to political parties, and what do they want for that donation? And it reminded me of a debate I had on the TVO agenda with a former Liberal finance minister about getting big money out of politics. And this person was saying, well, you know what? Political parties like ours, we need these big donations. And so why do you want to do something that would hurt political parties? And I said to him, and I'll say this to the government today, that it's not about what's good for political parties. It's about what's good for the people of Ontario, and having low donation limits so that everyone has access to participate in the political system in a way that doesn't privilege people with deep pockets, I believe is an important democratic principle. And so it pains me to see the government reopening the door to pay-to-play politics. Which brings me to my final point I want to make. So in addition to significantly raising the donation limits, the same section of the bill also doubles the amount of money an individual can donate to their campaign, $5,000 to $10,000, and to a leadership campaign from $25,000 to $50,000. And so I'm wondering if this is about for the people or people with deep pockets.
Questions and comments? I recognize the member from Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Thank you to the member from Guelph for his comments. And of course, he will realize that the rules have changed, and now corporate and union donations are no longer allowed, and those were the big donations. We're kind of the middle of the pack. A couple provinces don't even have limits on donations, but it's all personal dollars, not some corporation. I mean, I used to do fundraisers once a year. I haven't done one in years, but we used to do a golf tournament once a year for fundraising. But I wanted to ask you about the part to do with constituency associations for independent members to make it fair. We have a number of independent members in the legislature now. Your thoughts on that?
Response, the member from Guelph.
The member's question, and I remember I was the second witness at committee on the fundraising reform bill, because I had spoken out so strongly against union and corporate donations to political parties. And I remember when I came to committee, it was actually MPP Hillier who asked me a question that really gets at this point that you've just made around making things fair for independent members. And I certainly believe that the changes in this bill to make things fair for candidates who are not running as part of a party is a good step forward. But one good step forward doesn't outweigh opening the door to pay-to-play politics for deep-pocketed donors, Speaker.
Further questions? I recognize the member from Parkdale High Park.
Thank you, Speaker. Last night, I had the pleasure of joining the 12th Toronto Girl Guides meeting, and so we had a group of about 20 girls from Parkdale High Park between the ages of 9 to 11, and they were talking about civic engagement, issues that are important to their community. They did presentations for me, Speaker, on the use of plastics, air pollution, safer schools, promoting arts and culture. These are the issues that the young people in my riding of Parkdale High Park are talking about. These are the issues that matter. They want to see government take action on it. So I'd like to hear from the member from Guelph, what are the issues that he's hearing from the young people in his riding when it comes to urgent action that the government needs to take, rather than, and if he's hearing about changes to political donations as the top issue from young people. Thank you.
The member from Guelph.
Yeah, I haven't, I'll be honest and say I haven't heard from anybody who wants to see donation limits increased. So that was news to me when I read the bill, that was something that the people of Ontario was really asking for. What people in my riding are mostly talking about are, what's the vaccine plan? When and how am I going to get a shot, and where do I fit into the prioritization schedule, wanting clarity on it. People are talking about the need for a safe workplaces plan, because we know that's where most of the outbreaks are taking place. And if we're going to avoid another lockdown, we have to make sure we have things like paid sick days and proper PPE for essential workers, et cetera. And I would say when it comes to young people, a lot of young people are telling me that, you know, we have to deal with this pandemic, but we also have to deal with another crisis, the climate crisis, which is barreling down on us as well, and they're deeply worried about their
Response. For a quick question and comment. Question? Further question? Okay, I recognize the member from Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas.
Thank you very much. And I agree with you that the priorities of this government seem to be completely backwards. I know that in my community, what I see is groups, not-for-profits struggling to raise money for food for communities. The Hamilton Jewish Family Services are constantly fundraising for their food bank. Neighbor is another food bank in our riding that's struggling. Ancaster has a food drive every year, so the Ancaster Food Drive has gone online. They're trying to raise donations for food in the community. $1 equals one healthy meal. And so can you tell me, when this is happening, when kids are going to school hungry, what do you think is in the mind of this government that this is what they're putting forward?
Response, the member from Guelph.
Again, I'll just respond to the member's question that I don't know of anybody who is asking for donations to be increased. I mean, I'm assuming there are probably a few people around the province who have that kind of money sitting around to donate to political parties, but not very many. As a matter of fact, most people I talk to when it comes to political donations are saying they should be lower, like lower than what they are, because we want to make sure we have equal access to politics. So politics is about all people and not just the people with deep pockets.